You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling.
Yes, good day, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Lala, where we do engaging conversations with experts from here and all over the world about topics that resonate with moms and moms at heart, just like you and I. But some of us moms are actually executives or in the corporate world, and further still, some are entrepreneurs. So, no matter which industry you are in, presentation skills is a must. But don't worry, because today we are very honored to have an expert presentation skills coach, Claudio Sennhauser from Pitch Zone at Pitch Coach on YouTube, to give us some tips on how we can do better in this skill. Claudio prefers short introductions, right? So without further ado, let's welcome Claudio Sennhauser for the first time on Conversations with Lala. Hi, Claudio.
Lala, it is so great to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. I love it. I love your show. I love what you're doing. And most of all, I love your energy. You are such a powerhouse of energy. Thanks again for inviting me, Lala.
Thank you, Claudio. It's an honor. This collaboration, guys, have been, a dream for quite a while. But Claudio is very busy. So he said he's okay with the schedule. I'll take it. So that's why this is a special episode, because it's a different time slot. But for those watching us on replay, don't worry. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, whatever it is, just put them on the comments after. And for whatever it is, all the details are in the description down below. Okay, so let's say hi to Giga Art. Hi, Gigi. Thanks for dropping by, G. This is Claudio. Gigi is actually from Australia, Claudio. So it's actually ahead of us by 3 hours or 2 more hours. I'm not sure. Something like that, right? Okay, so Claudio, we know that you are a presentation coach, right? So probably others would like, what's a presentation coach? First and foremost.
Yes. What is a presentation coach? Well, I originally started out as a presentation trainer, right? I did workshops mostly in the corporate world. And, with the technology advancing more and more and more, I shifted a lot of my activities to coaching people online. And I found my groove in helping presenters, whether these are executives, entrepreneurs, startup founders to prepare for high stakes presentation
Mm.
opportunities. Think keynote presentations, investor pitches, and even Shark Tank appearances. I've coached several Shark Tank contestants, and that's what I do. I hold their hands, and I'm throughout the process helping them really distill their core messages and make sure that the message that they have to communicate does not only land in the ears or in the mind of the
Mm-hmm.
audience, but in the heart.
Wow, that's awesome. It's so nice to hear that there is actually a coach that one can reach out to if they are in that situation, right? So me doing presentations, like when I get invited for to do a talk or something, it's always very very scary. And now that I know that there is Claudio that I can actually run to for, uh, as he said, help us distill, okay, our presentation, because it's not just about being able to deliver it, right? But it has to actually touch the heart, and that makes sense, right? Because otherwise, it's just gonna fly in one ear, out the other, right? So okay, thank you so much. Also, Claudio, we have Wims in the chat. Good morning, and Norman's diary. Thank you so much, guys, and I hope that if you like what you're seeing so far, that you will actually share this live stream today. All right, Claudio, you mentioned something about Shark Tank. Okay, so what's Shark Tank? Maybe people are like, "What is Shark Tank?"
Mhm, mhm. Shark Tank is a show in the United States that has five investors, five really rich people
Mm.
looking for investment opportunities. And startups, small companies can come into Shark Tank, pitch their product, and if they do a really good job convincing the investors that this is a great opportunity for them to make money and maybe even have some fun along the way,
Mm-hmm.
one of the sharks, as they are called, might
Oh,
invest some money. In Europe, in England, I think it's called Lions Den. In Germany, it's called Die Höhle des Löwen. So this is an international show. In the meantime, there's even one. I live in Thailand. Now
mm-hmm.
there's a Shark Tank Thailand that takes the
Oh,
same format. Each show, four companies are coming in, four or five, and they are presenting. They're doing a short pitch, a 90-second pitch, and then there is a
90
Q&A
second
session
pitch.
follow. Yes, 90 seconds.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is what a lot of people struggle with. Whenever they are invited somewhere where
Mm.
time is of the essence, right? And this is one of my specialties, is helping people work with the clock, right? And initially, when somebody has an opportunity to speak for 90 seconds or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they go like, it's impossible. I cannot convey what I want to say in that time. But yes, it is possible, because
Actually,
if you
Claudio, I was like,
Mhm.
you said 90 seconds. I was like, do you mean 90 minutes? No, he said 90 seconds. That's just like a minute and a half,
Right. But
right?
turn it around. It's not only a minute and a half, it's a whopping 3 TV commercials, right? So TV commercials usually are about 30 seconds. You get
Oh,
3 times that time. So just reframe it in your mind a little bit, that all of a sudden those 90 seconds are actually a lot of time.
all right. So that's a great way, right? Mindset, I believe, probably plays a really good, great role in presentation skills. And that is basically what Claudio and his channel provides. But before we delve into that further, Claudio, let's say hi to Gina. Hi, Gina. All right. And Gina says, I love Shark Tank, because you know that Gina is in the US. She is in the West Coast.
All right.
Yes. Remember, we met Gina in Lida also. Yes. Mrs. B.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. B, Claudia, is actually, she is an entrepreneur. She has her company name is Mrs. B also. And she creates handmade artisanal products in terms of household cleaners and stuff like that. Maybe Mrs. B, it's time for you to grow. Maybe you should find investors, and maybe you create a pitch, and maybe you would want to go into Claudio's channel and try to help you with your pitch, right? So Mrs. B, thank you so much for dropping by. Wonderful show that gives investors a chance. Yes. Hi, Lala and Claudia. Thank you, Gina. All right. So you mentioned yes,
Lala, hold
yes.
on. Before we move on, I quickly want to make a comment to the whimsical thoughts. I love your name on here, whimsical thoughts, because I think the world needs more whimsy. This is one of the top things that I always, with my client, and I use the word whimsy and whimsical, right? I go like, and now how can we add a little bit whimsy to this? How can we make it fun for the audience? Because if you make it fun for the audience, it's also fun for you. And all of a sudden, these anxieties that we usually carry around, they fall off.
Exactly. You know, guys, just a tidbit of behind the scenes. Before we went in, that's why we had to move it to 11:10. This is supposed to be at 11 because I had last minute tech issue. And then finally we got it working. 5 minutes prior to 11:10, Claudia said, Lala, relax, breathe. He really tried, and it worked. I calmed down. So it's the opposite. It's the guest who calmed me down rather than me calming my guest down. So he is really a great coach, guys, right? Yes, thank you, Claudia from Miss Wims. Whimsical Thoughts is her channel name. She's actually part of my crafting community. She's actually an artist. She's a painter, and she's actually going to be my guest tomorrow. There you go, Claudio. You are hearing my filler words. Actually.
Habits.
So Wims is going to be part of my show tomorrow, guys, where she will do the watercolor part of my show. Okay. So going back to the topic at hand, right? So you already mentioned startups. So that is basically the thrust, one of the major thrusts of your show, right? So maybe people would like to ask, so what happens on your show? The show is called Pitch Coach, and it's at Pitch Zone. Okay, hold on. Before you answer that, Claudio, okay, I just want people to know that if you want to know where you can find Claudio, this is it, guys. So he is on Facebook, okay, as Sennhauser, on LinkedIn, of course, as Claudio Sennhauser, and his website, which is very important because you can see everything from there, is sennhauser.com. Of course, on YouTube, it's called Pitch Coach. All right, so we go back to Claudio and let him answer what Pitch Coach. Okay, what happens in Pitch Coach?
In Pitch Zone.
In Pitch Zone.
Yes. This is a program that was born at the very beginning of the pandemic. I was sitting together with one of my closest friends. We work together a lot. We do a lot of coaching together, especially Shark Tank, large corporate customers. And it was, I think, May when we said, this pandemic, this lockdown, this is going to take a little longer, I think, than we all thought. What can we do to entertain people out there and then do something fun? So we came up with a program. At that point, I called it Pitch in the Zone. And we met on Zoom, Nathan, my friend, and I. And we invited somebody to come in to show us a pitch. And then we reviewed that pitch. We gave feedback. And this attracted a small little audience of maybe 10, 15 regular visitors coming into Zoom. And we posted the Zoom meetings up on YouTube, but who wants to watch a replay of a Zoom meeting? I mean, that's just not interesting. And so I put it on the back burner after 2 years. And then I stumbled across the program you and I met, Lala.
Yes.
LIDA, last August. And that to me was the inspiration to look at ways on how to take this show live. And I'm using the same software that you do in the background. It's called Ecamm, that allows you to do these beautiful scenes like you have here, switch between different views where you have one person on the screen, several persons on the screen. And I said, wow, this could be the ticket. So I recreated Pitch in the Zone as Pitch Zone. And we've been doing it now live. This week is going to be the 33rd episode.
Wow.
And it's been an absolute blast. So the format originally was a presenter comes in, they show us a 3-minute pitch, and 4 coaches in a round robin style provide feedback. What does already work? What is extremely well done, and what can be improved. And usually the presenters walk out of the experience with real eyes open and a lot of feedback on how to improve their pitch.
Wow. Guys, if you have not seen, okay, this is the first time you've actually seen Claudio and met Claudio and heard about his channel. I have been going to his live shows if and whenever I can, or sometimes on replay. And it's super amazing to watch. I salute your guests. They're so very brave. It's so scary. It's like being in front of like for a panel made up of 4 people. In their case, it's 4 coaches, right? But the nice thing about that is, remember, the guests actually are preparing for a pitch that they need to do to gain investors, right, Claudio? And of course, ultimately, as the entrepreneur, okay, or the startup company, I want to get those investors. And to get that, you need to make your 90-second presentation really the best that you actually can. And having a coach, in their case, 4 coaches normally, right, Claudio? 4
Yep.
coaches.
Yep.
That is super amazing, right? So if you
Yep.
are watching this now, right now on live, we have around 15 watching. Go ahead, guys, put your questions in the chat. Don't be shy, right? This is the perfect time to actually ask Claudio. Okay, let's ask him. Okay, tips. Maybe you are thinking of a product or something that you want to, get investors. And Claudio and his friends and team of other professional coaches can help you with that. Okay, Claudio, on top of helping startup companies, do you also help out others on Pitch Zone?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, in a way, yes, because we are actually changing the format just slightly. While I am a firm believer of learning by observing, and that's why we put up Pitch Zone, right? Because if you are a fly on the wall in a coaching session, not just with 1 but 4 coaches, something will rub off. However, I think this is something that not so many people value, or they're connecting the dots, that there is so much learning behind observing. But there really is. In fact, in England, they have done some research into how the skill level of tennis players goes up during the weeks of Wimbledon, when everybody's watching Wimbledon, and all of a sudden coaches at the clubs, they notice that their students are playing at the higher level. So that was the original thought, but I somehow think that we can provide even more value by doing tips, and tricks and techniques, and communicate those. So we are experimenting with different formats there as well. And for example, this week, and this is a great opportunity for those that do like Shark Tank. I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank, of course. And we coached a founder team for last season that
Last
blew
season
our
means
socks
what?
off.
When was this, Claudio? When you say last season,
That
when
was
it?
last year, season 14. The episode was aired in November, I think.
Oh, November.
Yeah, I think in November.
So
And
they can go back and
it's-
watch that.
Yeah, well, and these 2 guys, they're very, very young entrepreneurs. They came up with a wonderful product. The company is called Action Glow, and the product is a LED stick that you can put on your skateboard, snowboard, mountain bike, and so on,
Ah.
to really really shine in darker environments. And this week, those two gentlemen will be our guests. So Nathan Gold and I will be interviewing them about their experience with Shark Tank, how they prepared for Shark Tank, and of course, what happened since they got funding from one of the sharks,
Oh,
right? So they
wow.
walked
This
in,
is a
they were
great
looking for.
follow-up, right, Claudio?
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yep. So this is a follow up, and I'm sure that those that like Shark Tank,
Mm-hmm.
they will love this episode because it's your opportunity, if you join us live,
Mm-hmm.
to really interact with those two young entrepreneurs. And here is the thing about entrepreneurship: these two uh, young kids, I almost want to
Mm-hmm.
call them, they actually they actually started to apply for Shark Tank when they were kids. One of them was 12 and the other one was 14. I've
Oh
seen
my
the
goodness,
audition
younger than
tape,
my
right?
son.
I've seen that audition tape there. These little kids, go like, "Hey, sharks, we have this product," and blah blah blah
Wow.
blah,
I think,
and they were
Claudio, they
turned
will be the
down.
future, what do you call this? Taipans, we call it here in Asia, right? Of the
Yep,
world,
yep,
right?
yep. So
Amazing.
that was 10 years ago, and they were
Wow.
turned down. They were turned
Oh,
down. They tried again 2 years later, got turned down. Tried again 2 years later or 3 years later, got turned down. And eventually, on their fourth try, 10 years later, they got into the show and they did get some funding. And that
oh.
just shows how, consistency and some grit and
Mm,
stamina is so important for anybody, not just startups, but
mm-mm,
even if you have a hobby project somewhere,
mm-mm.
with a YouTube channel, for example. I think so many people, they give up so soon, right? They don't immediately see any results and they give up. But sometimes true success just takes time. There is a process behind it, and it does take time unless you win the lottery.
But then if you win the lottery, it can be gone in a day, right?
True.
Exactly. Wow, Claudia, that is such an amazing show. And guys, okay, if you missed what Claudia just said, because probably you're just joining us on replay, this is it, guys. This is how to crush it on Shark Tank. This is the two no longer really young, but still young gentlemen that Claudio will be with and Nathan on a pitch zone this Thursday for us. That's May 25th, 10:15 p.m. Perfect. By this time, all of us are at home and just, slowly trying to just relax before we go to sleep. This is going to be a super amazing time for us to actually get inspired. See, that's the nice thing. So many nice things, takeaways from what Claudio just said, right? Don't give up. Okay, amazing things almost always happen, okay, after a long while, right? They're very seldom that you reach greatness or whatever it is that you plan immediately, okay? And
Right,
as Claudia
right.
said, if you win the lottery, yeah, you can be a great or, rich for a little bit, right? But it can easily go away. But when you reach a certain thing with greatness slowly, it's something that you have reached with tons of learning along the way, and nobody can take that away from you, right? So that's a very great advice, Claudio. And to actually, I think I love this new format that you are going to introduce pretty soon, because it's not just your guests pitching, but you also have episodes. They will also have episodes where they will just talk about tips, right? General tips for presentation
Yeah.
skills, right? Maybe you couldn't resonate with the pitch of for that day because you're in a different industry, right? But there are certain basics. So let's talk about basics, Claudio. So we know that it's to create or deliver that amazing pitch, it has to be very focused, right? But then again, we there such a thing as a basic presentation skill that one
Hmm.
has to to have.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is
Yes, there
yes.
is.
Okay.
There
And
is.
what can you like share some of this?
I think before we even go to skills, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's also a mindset.
Okay, there you
It's a
go.
certain mindset issue. And the thing that I notice the most is that people are extremely factual with their presentations.
Ouch.
And what I teach people is that it's really, at the end of the day, it's really all about emotions
Mm-hmm.
at every single point of a presentation, whether it's your own state management, your own emotions that you want to have in control,
Mm-hmm.
but also to appeal to the emotions of your audience out there, right? And then you have rhetoric tools, like put in pauses, use metaphors and analogies, and all that kind of, technicalities. But underneath that, it's really that mindset of this is all about emotions, because no matter what you are selling, no matter what you're offering to somebody, no matter about what you want to persuade them,
Mm-hmm.
other people always make decisions based on their emotions. And then later on, they go back to the facts and figures and they justify to themselves why they made a certain decision. But the decision in itself is usually always made emotionally. And
Mm.
so to me, that's the prerequisite.
Okay, so most of the time, I think I'm actually very guilty of that. So Claudia told me, relax, right? Okay. Just you know what to do. Okay. So you don't need all of those scripting and all of those things. Just focus on the facts and just relax and deliver it the way that you should. But I as I told Claudia last night when we were doing the tech rehearsal, but I have a lot of filler words. I have a lot of actually, therefore, right? So what are your suggestions on people like me? So my remedy to that was to actually do a prepared speech that I've actually created myself, but then it's still written and then I put a teleprompter. So what is your take on that if you are going to do a presentation?
Well, one of the things about those filler words, and a lot of people they use things like or like, things like that. The thing about them is that they are habits. They are unconscious habits. We are
Mm.
typically not even aware of them. So the first step is to become aware of them. Like you are right now, Lala, you are at the point where you recognize you're using a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
but you haven't taken real action yet to eradicate them totally, right? And now it depends a little bit on the filler word in itself. If it's an uh, the best remedy here is to make a pause, because those expressions, those sounds, they actually come from conversation. When we have a normal conversation, usually the time for the other person to speak is when there is a brief moment of silence. That's kind of the signal that, okay, now the other person can speak. So we kind of like use these arms as a bridge and as a
Mm.
signal to say, hey, I'm not quite done yet. I'm looking for, my words to continue. And in a presentation, well, that's not needed, right?
Mm.
And there
We
is a
have only 90 seconds.
tremendous, yeah,
Right.
especially, but even there, because one thing that I notice is most people, when they initially come to me, they are rushing through their presentations and they're not making enough pauses.
Mm.
But pauses are really the most essential part of any conversation, and especially presentation. So sometimes, people show me a script and it's a 2-minute pitch. and they have 360 words on that script. I go like, no way, no way, no way. You have to rush. You can do it, but you have to rush in such a way that your message will not land on the other side. So the trick then is to find better sentences and words that are more concise. So you use less words. I usually shoot for about 120 to 140 words.
100.
Really accomplished communicators, they might be at 150, 155 and still have some room for pauses here and there. But to me, it's the pauses. Now, with words like actually, that clearly is a habit that
Yeah.
the best way to erase them is, number one, to become aware, and number two, watch yourself. Watch a recording. Like, for example, if you go back, Lala, to this one, just in the introduction to this short segment here, you used actually twice in one sentence, right?
Yes.
And when you hear yourself looking out for those words, something is starting to happen.
So intentionality, right? Okay. Okay, there's another
Intentionality.
Okay.
And then once you see yourself doing this, all of a sudden what happens is the next time you do it in real life, you catch yourself right after the word. But you speak and then you go like, actually, I want to, and you catch yourself. And in the very beginning, you might even point it out and go like, oh, now I use this word again, that dreaded word. But over time, you just bridge that with silence, or you just cut out the word. It's a question of practice.
Thank you, Claudio. So there's no magical formula. It's
No.
intentionality and practice. So I will do that. There's a great question. Thank you, Claudio. There's a great question here. And I think I want to. Is this a fact that presentation in the executive realm has to be always very business-like? It can't be whimsical. Okay, as Miss Wims mentioned, I only present during corporate meetings, and emotions are not so much incorporated. Presenting in a more playful and exciting way is a challenge for me because I am exposed to business presentations. So, as she said, like Shark Tank is in a way a business for a platform, right? So you said that it can still, you have to still put in emotion. So what do you think of this one? How can Miss Wims actually make her executive presentations during corporate meetings, have a little bit of a whimsy, but still corporate?
Absolutely. And I 99% of my clients are in the business world. I also coach corporate executives. And the amazing thing is that so many people think, well, I'm in a business environment. It has to be serious. It has to be factual. But not at all. Even in a business environment, emotions rule, right? So there is a three-part condition that I usually recommend or mention to my clients that needs to be in place if you want to persuade somebody. Number one, they need to love your product or your idea. Like in a corporate environment, you may not have a product. You may do a presentation about a process improvement, and you want to convince your team that you need to make some changes, right? So it can be that idea. That idea needs to be communicated in a way that people can love it. That's an emotion. They need to like you as a person. You need to be somewhat likable, and that's the easiest one. And then the third one is they need to trust that what you are proposing actually can work, or they need to trust in your company that your company can execute, right? So it's that love, like, and trust. And it's those three emotions that you need to go to. When I say emotional, right, I'm not talking about, heart wrenching or breaking out in tears or anything like that, but to
Mhm.
appeal to emotions and to appeal to your target audience's emotions. And that's why it's so important. We always hear, know your audience. What does it really mean, know your audience? Well, it means that you need to understand whatever you are proposing to them, what
Mhm.
that means to them, right? What does it mean to them? For example, Steve Jobs was probably the number one business presenter in our time.
Mm-mm.
And some of your viewers here may be old enough that they remember when Steve Jobs announced the iPod. And when
Yes.
he announced the iPod, he could have done it in the standard way. He could have stood up or stood in front of the audience. And I still have one of the
Oh,
original iPods here, right? This is like the first
yes.
generation,
I traded mine
and
for a newer one in the past.
good for you. So he could have stood up and said, this is a new portable music player. It weighs only 6.5 ounces and is the size of a sardine can. It has 5 gigabytes of storage,
Mm-mm.
and it has lightning fast transfer speeds, and we call it the iPod, right? He could have done that. But I'm wondering if any of your viewers remember the one sentence Steve Jobs used to position this product and tell the viewers not what it is, but what it does, what it means in their lives. And
Mm.
all the press has picked that up afterwards. When they wrote about, oh, Apple is coming out with a new product, they used exactly those words. And that positioning was, this is 1,000 songs in your pocket. Okay?
Wow.
This is 1,000 songs in your pocket. Now, all of a sudden, the listener can really imagine what this device will do for them, what it means for them. It means, oh, I can put my entire music library in my pocket and take it with me. And this is a huge, huge difference between 6.5 ounces, size of a sardine can, 5 gigabytes. These are all
Mm.
features. And to arrive at a powerful statement about what it means, all you need to do is list all of the features of your product or your idea that you're proposing, list all of these features, and then for each feature, answer the question, what does that feature mean? For example, 6.5 ounces, what does that mean? Well, it's light enough to carry around. Size of a sardine can. What does that mean? Well, that means I can
Mm.
put it in my pocket. 5 gigabytes
Right.
of storage. What does that mean? Well, in the context of music, it means
Mm-mm.
1,000 songs. And there, all of a sudden, such a statement is staring you in the face. And
Amazing.
the result of it with Steve Jobs and Apple was people were lining up 2 days in advance to buy the product, to be the first ones to get their hands on the product. They never saw the product in real life. They
Mhm.
never had a chance to touch it or even play with it,
Just the
but they
promise
knew
itself
they
of
wanted it.
something or what it can do to one's life, right?
That's it. That's it. What it can do to one's life. What value does
Mhm.
it bring to one's life? And even in business presentations, even in internal team meetings, if you're starting to look at the world from that angle and always ask yourself, what does that mean to the other person? And then communicate it through that frame, your message will land more in the heart of the other person.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for that, right? So, again, a shift of mindset. We can actually deliver all the facts and data in a way that would resonate to your stakeholder, whether it be your customer, to your bosses, to the company as a whole, right? So great advice, and thank you so much for opening those facts for us. Okay, and Miss Wims, I'm sure is already a great presenter, and hopefully with all of your advice, she can even be. She's not just a great artist, but she is actually a great presenter in her corporate world, I'm sure. So she's saying my presentations always have a pattern. So there's the introduction, agenda, background, objective, and then go down to the details. How can it be more exciting? And she has a follow up with that one. So is visual presentation or demographics more appealing? So probably the use of PowerPoint presentations and stuff like that. And it is it also the tone and is it also the tone of voice that expresses emotion? So the way you deliver it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It is the tone of voice. Let me answer the first one about the introduction, agenda, background, and so
Okay.
on. It's the standard format. We've learned it, and I find it not so effective. Again, it depends on what is the presentation about, what is the setting for the presentation. There is a time and place for everything. I usually prefer to not even spend a lot of time on the introduction, because think about when you are attending a presentation, there is an unspoken question that you may not even be aware of, but you do have that question deep, deep down inside. And that question is, why should I listen to you? And in today's world, our attention span is so short that you have only a few seconds to really make an impression and answer that question of why should I listen to you? So usually my take is to say, well, an introduction, what kind of value does it provide? And does it really answer the question, why should I listen to you? So I prefer to start the presentation with either a thought-provoking question for the audience,
Yeah, like a
or
hook.
mentioning a startling fact or something along that line, right? And you see this, for example, on YouTube as well. The streamers and the content creators that are captivating, they usually don't start with either a B-roll or start with, hello, welcome to my video. My name is John, and in this video, I'm going to. No, they usually start out with a hook, something that gets people's attention and answers the question, why should I listen to you? And then they go into, hi, my name is John, and blah, 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 blah. So that to me is about, the structure. And I am so absolutely aware that a large number of, especially meetings, when we do a presentation in a meeting where we know everybody, or they do follow a certain format, but again, that format might be putting people to sleep. It might put people into dreamland, or worse, if it's an online meeting, you never know. You are competing with 37 open tabs and notifications coming in and an email inbox, and you don't even know whether your audience is paying attention to you or not, right? So you want to grab their attention and captivate them from the beginning on. And I think then the meeting will not only start on a better note, but it will end on a better note as well. As far as the visual, is visual presentations more appealing, and the tone of voice? Yes. For me, I'm a person, I love to use slides, but I use slides mostly for the imagery, right? I want to utilize yet another channel to funnel my message through the senses of the other person, right? So if I don't use slides, I rely mostly on the auditory channel, and perhaps a little bit what I can do with my gestures and my facial expressions. But if I do have slides behind me, And typically my slides, it's maybe just one image, no text, or maybe just one line of text. Then I think you are engaging more of the senses, and as a result, you're more captivating. Voice, tone of voice, absolutely conveys emotions, right? Not just the tone of voice, but also your pace. For example, if you're speeding up just a tad little bit, just go a little faster than your normal speaking tempo is, you typically convey enthusiasm and passion. And if you slow down just a little bit below your standard speaking rate, you are demonstrating control and confidence. And so, yes, all of these, whether it's pace, whether it's volume, where you go a little bit louder, or you're actually going down with your voice, especially if you want to evoke something special. Curiosity, go down with your voice, right? So yes, absolutely, vocal variety buys you a lot when it comes to persuasion.
Those are golden, really golden nuggets of tips. Okay, and Miss Wims is also saying, "I love this." Thank you. Okay, another entrepreneur that this time Miss Wims is in the corporate world, but now we have an entrepreneur, Mrs. B, where we have not been able to see her quite a while because she's very busy. Her business just really staggeredly went you know past amazing results last December. So, and I'm happy that she's here. She says that my pitch is always direct to the point, intro, product knowledge, details. Really no exact formula in my pitch. And she currently has 7 rebranders with her current pitch. So on top of doing her own line of products, she also accepts, we call it like rebranding. So she provides them with a product, but they use their own brands. Okay, so we call that rebranding. And Whimsical, she has a message for Whims. She said that I have a company portfolio to show together with it are each product detail. So it's so nice to hear from different sides of the coin. One who's in the executive world and one who's actually an entrepreneur. So what is your take on Mrs. B? What do you think of her? The way she pitches at this point.
Difficult to say, just based on the statement that her pitch is direct to the point, intro, product knowledge, details. I have a hunch that this works very well for Mrs. B. I do have a hunch it may be a little bit feature driven. And this is simply just based on experience of working with clients. I like pitches that get right to the point, right? But when I read here that product knowledge details, that's the point, Mrs. B, that I would like you to think about. What exactly are you communicating when you communicate product knowledge and details? Are you talking about what the product is? Or are you talking about what the product means? If you communicate the product details, including what it means, you're doing very well, and I think that would work. I don't have a specific formula for a pitch either, right? It depends always on the audience. To me, it depends on the venue. A TEDx talk or a TED talk is so different than a Shark Tank appearance, is so different than a regular investor meeting, right? Because especially when we talk about Shark Tank, let's not forget, that's made for entertainment. That's not the real life. That's TV. This is never going to happen, especially because when you watch a Shark Tank episode, for example, you see the pitch is 90 seconds, and then you have maybe about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A. And in the Q&A is actually where the deal happens or not. But you only, as a viewer, you only see 5 to 10 minutes. But these presenters, they're in the studio for 45 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. And they're pummeled with questions after question after question. And then the producer and the editors are making a viewable piece out of that. So Shark Tank, I do not recommend to anybody as a model for how they should be pitching. This is all about entertainment, what makes TV worthy. And that's also the reason why in Shark Tank, every year you have 30,000 companies applying. 158 of those get invited into the studio, and out of those, only a little more than 80 actually make it on
Wow.
the air, right?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because that is actually a great marketing tool, right? To be actually be part of it, whether you are the investor or the one doing the pitch. Okay,
Mhm.
Claudia, I just want to congratulate Mrs. B because she is actually now considered a manufacturer, and to actually achieve that in the Philippines, to have an FDA license and all of those things, it's not a joke. It's very hard. So I actually congratulate you, Mrs. B, and I will be messaging you. You know why. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. B. And for the
I want to
people,
make I,
yes.
I want to make a very very quick offer to Mrs. B because I love her. I love her comments here, her engagement, and so
Uh huh.
on. Um, on my website, if you go to sennhauser.com, Lala showed it before.
Okay, there
Go
you
to
go.
sennhauser.com and then
This
click
guys.
on contact. And on contact, you can hop on my calendar. Why don't you hop on my calendar? No strings attached. This is just me taking a quick look at your
Wow.
personal
Mrs.
situation.
B, grab this
And
opportunity. Oh my
yes, yes,
goodness.
I
Thank
will be very,
you.
very happy because again, every situation is different. Every situation is different. And so the more I know about what exactly your situation is, the better my
Mhm.
recommendations will be. Because again, presenting, it's like communicating, right? There is no blanket
Mhm.
formula that works for
Correct.
everybody.
Because right now, Mrs. B is local, right? Who knows? You could go regional and eventually global, Mrs. B. So just saying, grab that opportunity to actually, meet up with Claudio. And she mentioned additional things, two things: reaching out to customers, the benefits of my products, same with potential clients as their manufacturer. So she says that she reaches out to both. But as Claudia said, best that you guys actually, meet. Okay. So there you go. Absolutely,
Looking forward
Claudia.
to it.
Thank you so much. There you go, Mrs. B. And all of Claudia's links, by the way, guys, are in the description of this live stream. And actually, one thing that I forgot to put in there is that, is it okay, Claudia, to actually, your book? Remember, Claudia is
Oh,
also
yeah, yeah,
an
yeah. I do
author.
remember my book. Yes.
Yes, he's actually an author as well, and he has given us a link, okay, to for his book, which I forgot to include in the description, but I will edit and put it there. So if you want a little bit more a tip from Claudio in a form of a book that you can actually peruse and read through when you're stuck in traffic or whatever, then head on to that one. Sorry, Claudio, I forgot. I'll put it in the description after this one. And thank you so much for sharing that one. Just a fast note, Claudio, this is one of Mrs. B's product. And for us,
Mm.
okay, okay, in the
Mhm.
community, in the crafting community, this is a stamp cleaner. Right. So this is
Okay.
just one of her many amazing products. This is not the only thing that
Cool.
she does, but she has products for
Mm.
crafters, she has products for families, and now I'm sure being a manufacturer, she has actually expand her product line as well. All right. So Claudia, I am super grateful, guys. Don't forget on Thursday. This is on May 25th. If you've enjoyed this episode right now at Conversations with Lala. I'm absolutely sure you will enjoy this further in How to Crush It on Shark Tank on May 25th, 10:15 Philippine time. I'm sure all of us are at home by this time and perfect time to actually join Claudia. All right, Claudia, in a nutshell, if there's one tip, just one tip that you can, as a parting message or tip for everyone right now in the chat, what would that be in terms of presentation skills?
Well, I want to expand it a little bit and go to communication skills in general
Okay.
because I know your audience, maybe many of those are not out there presenting, with PowerPoint and things like that. But we're always talking. We're always talking. And I want to share something with you that I learned at a young age. And I am eternally grateful forever to my mom for teaching me this lesson. And because you have a lot of moms here, hopefully this can come in handy for you as well. And that goes back to when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old, those years when we start to speak up and become a little rebellious. And my mom cooked a dish. It was tripe. Tripe in tomato sauce. It's a specialty in northern Italy. And I could never even look at it, smell it. And the taste of it was absolutely disgusting. So I looked at my mom and said, Mom, this dish is gross. I'm not going to eat it. And she looked at me and said, Oh, no, 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 Claudio. This dish isn't gross. It isn't bad. But I'm also not saying it is good. And that, of course, threw me into confusion. I said, Hey, what? It's not good? It's not bad? And she said, Yes. You don't like this dish. I love it. That's why I cook it. Now eat. Now, the message behind it is really the choice of words that we are using. All too often, we use the verb to be when we actually mean an opinion. And we do not communicate it as an opinion, right? So we say, let me take an example of politics. We make statements like, "This is the greatest president I've ever seen," or "This is the greatest president for our country," something like that. And that makes it a fact. The word is makes it a fact. To be makes it a fact. However, when we communicate, what we do is we share our own view of the world, our opinion. And so using words like, this seems a great president, I find him the greatest president, makes it very, very clear. And all of a sudden, this is a very non-violent language, right? You can take the wind out of anybody's sail in a conversation by using your subjective words rather than this is. And so wherever I go, I share this. And there is even a name for this way of speaking. It's called E prime. It was formulated in 1968 by David Borland. And to me, there is a true magic in avoiding the verb to be as an identifier because we make it a fact. So rather turn it around and use words like I find, it seems.
I love that. Wow. That is so great. Amazing, right? It's like a change of, it's like looking from outside the box. I agree with that, right? Most of the time when we say things, that's why people are turned off because it seems as if your what you're saying is, the fact one, when in fact it's just your opinion. And if we state it that way, then it won't probably be so uh perceived as something that could be offensive to some, right? So it's called
Mhm.
E prime. I learned so many things today, guys. So again, thank you so much, Claudio. I wish we had more time with you, but I do know that you have another pressing appointment after this. But thank you so much for being here. And I hope that Mrs. B takes on and Miss Wims takes on that challenge to actually, hopefully be part of your show as, what do you call this? As part of, a pitch. There will be the one who will do the pitch. Again, just the last one. Okay, this is Claudia's socials website. Of course, if you want to engage with him, set up an appointment. That's the place to go. Sennhauser.com. Okay, and the links are also in the description down below. And of course, his YouTube is Pitch Coach. And this Thursday, 10:15, May 25th. See you in the chat, everyone. Thank you so much, Claudio. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And see you again tomorrow for another Crafty Nights here with Mommy Guide Inc. this time. And we have Prestige paper with their new line of Fabriano paper, Claudio, for our episode tomorrow. Okay, with that, thank you and have a great rest of the day, Claudio, and to everyone in the chat. Bye! Thank you so much again, and see you again for another Crafty Nights here on Mommy Guide Inc. on Wednesday. Bye!